Thank you so much. Thank you for coming here, and thank you to the Poetry Center for inviting me and for making this beautiful book, which I just saw a few hours ago, and I feel really lucky. Thank you guys so much. So I think I'll start with a poem that has no title, and it's not even called Untitled, so I'll get it out of the way before it becomes problematic, but I can't tell you what it is. Think of the nights that have broken without a word, have left a starless sky in your throat. No visitors arrive with their casserole voices, and nothing distracts or carries you in your car coat and heels away. We do our best to forget these quiet hours, a forest of motels. I leave the kitchen radio on, a toy from a strange country of static. Tonight seemed as long as an unwritten letter. Think of your mouth saying everything, all undone, all given. Under the street lamp, I have listened and grown cold. It is time to go in. We take ourselves away. This is one of the newer poems from this collection. They span so many years. I think I figured out today that the oldest is from 2000 or 2001. So this is one of the newer ones. It's called Modern Romance. Said what is customary. What rations were left got rationed. What perished I dumped at the campground, where the foxes divvied salt jerky, mannered and stalking all night, dead reckoning the forest, furrow by ridge by radio parts, swift remnants we make of staving, have made, and having made, stow elsewhere, anywhere else, like embarrassed in the granary, the heft of your dry mouth, this drought of us that pitched the tent. Said good night, splint of river going broke. There is only so much tending to do, and then what? Sleep won't come. The parts of me that are on fire can't put the parts of you that are on fire out. Speaking of titles, this is arguably the worst title you'll ever hear. Tell me you were happy. So dumb. Those days we stayed in rented rooms. We courted the hours with our hands and eyes, no, cosseted and bundled them as poor mutts pulled limp from the river. Small injuries for you to chain smoke and worry over. What must keep warm we shall tend. I was heartbroken over your gestures. Bent shadows crossed the radiator, the blanket, the sink. The fading sun broke all of it. If at first inelegant, every refrain of touch built a sturdy harbor. Those days, phones went ringing elsewhere. Your uncle sold vending machines across Ohio. The stories around the campfires weren't uplifting, nor meant to be. Would that you might bear this life. For miles the roads were more of the same. Dollar stores and bakeries, dollar stores, truck stops. Someone's suitcase never arrives. Someone approaches a phone booth. Someone's pleasure is arrested. So I have been unemployed for almost a year, and was laid off last November, election week, because the beginning of the week I was elated, and at the end of the week I was escorted out of my building and searched. And so anyways, everything turned around for me in August, and everything's super now, but in the beginning there was some dark weeks and months, and I've always had this preoccupation. I think a lot about working and how it is we spend our days and what we choose to do, or what we're forced to do and what we wish we did. So I have a series of vocation poems, and I'll read 2 of those. The first one is called Shipbuilding, because I wished I was a welder at some point. These arcane impediments, estrangement tossing her key to the shipyard, saluting from the drawbridge, there goes nothing. The ocean's wake troubles a heavy wrist of wind through the station. What good would it do to follow anyone away from here quickly? The vessels repair slowly. There is much to weld. We must bear the facts of this life suddenly sometimes. A room we must continue to stand in. A carpenter will tell a joke that begins, the body is a series of fucked up shutters, and already the heart, picturing itself as a drawer, slim on its hinges and weathered, won't listen. Shepherding. If not to clutch this flock fierce, if not to tuck and gather the scuffed ankles, woolen necks, then to inhabit the shocked meadow for a time as one of them, fold through the dark hours behind the staggered belts of alfalfa as if tending, convinced we could groom want like a lamb, like an awkward, blind stumbling, and feed it. Staving off hunger for as long as it takes, refusing to come in from the cold empty-handed. Even the shepherd has a savage longing. We bundle our secrets in winter clothes, leave them, these sad culprits, to the wardrobe, let the moths scrap the silhouettes to shreds. This is called Some of Every Lost Ship minus its apology. The sea has nothing to say about salt. The bird and its feathers, the plum and its skin. Even the hairs in the horsehair comb quiver unmechanic. Even the shore retreats. I might as well say it. Behind every blue dress is an ocean. For each water molecule, a catastrophe of satin. I was a pilgrim charged with fishing doll eyes from the bottom of the sea. An impossible task for which there must be some equation. Another way to say, electrolyte is to cell as rust is to blood. What unit of measurement besides fathom? Because the river forgets nothing. Not tourniquets or letters, not gloves, not cakes. By the edge of slipping shore, I lower the nets. I wait. These days, everything is easier to forgive. I have to get used to finding what I need in here. Okay. Exiled. To reach you, my Everest, my graft and reel. Hand in glove, I polish and polish. First the cufflinks, then the pillbox series of gilded cages. The things are small I carry. They fit inside my mouth or fist. Telegraph, with you I falter. That silence and all its cursiveless distance, a lexicon of shankweed and plastic spoons. Yes, I am sequestered, a motel room on the brink of a clearing, a broken vending machine beside a chest of ice. And the clearing is a dried up sea, a plain of salt, where a hawk is a gesture that tips the sky. And the paragraph that follows might describe the suicide that wears a brooch for mourning. Kind sir, the tourists have left the cabins, the keys all accounted for and rubber banded. Trespassing at dark, I studied their leisure. Is it coveting to want a new grief? A sorrow like a uniform stitched from deer hooves, the racket it makes on the wind, a gallop, and deafening. So I have a long poem in here. It's in 9 parts. called Instructions from the Narwhal, and I won't read all. I'll probably read 3. And all you need to know is that the speaker is a narwhal, which is an Arctic whale, and the male has a tusk that's actually a tooth, and they're shy. And this one gives cryptic advice. How to harvest ice. Dear Greenland, won't you take off your gloves and sit here by the belly of the stove? The thaw has hastened a river through the floorboards of the house, a folktale gesture, the sort of thing the women in this village embroider over aprons and coverlets and elaborate gatherings of floss. Horse-drawn plows score the frozen lakes as your alphabet of sealskin spells farther north the tundra. Once from a phone booth I pledged my allegiances and waited out the longest night. No trace of you in your waistcoat and woolens, all my quarters gone. You busy yourself unlacing your boots. Subtract the heel prints from the glacier from its drift. I left a message on your phone. I said, the tiny shipwreck in your voice invented me. How to address the Ukrainian giant. Had I one unhaunted season? Had I a mule to falter the path at your ankles? I would carry both to your doorstep and beg your pardon. Forgive your grief its almanac size. Mainly I picture you sleeping, the mattress a barge in a pantry. Had I a proper blanket, let me cover your feet. What habit this sorrow? A quiet agreement between your hands. Had I an orchard? A suitcase for the horses and their secrets. Whoso is privy to the horse's secrets, that is a lucky man. Had I a crossbow, an alibi, a fortress? Dear giant, if such grand scale was easy, for their unspent grace I would envy your hands. How to make of your heart a souvenir. What you will give $3 for, then pocket when your turn comes and the carney is gentle despite his meat-packing hands. What you will carry to the pawn shop pronto, hitch up your skirt and place on the counter your prize. Thrush in a ditch, you leave it in all your loneliest costumes. An ill-fitting ring, a color TV set that keeps changing hands in a seaside town like this one. The broom factory closed, and a bar the drought has filled for so many consecutive days. All of it swept under at the strand's edge. Trust me, miles of souvenirs traipse the bottom of the sea, plastic songs aplenty. What you will hand over in a dim room, your fingers working like a toy gun, the hook and eye. The way you look in that dress called twilight. It is nothing you can say, come back here to. How you caught him watching, the weight of his hand not touching. What you will not write in the letter, not consignment, nothing to keep. How your mouth will ache forever unmeasuring the sea, and how you will learn to widow your love, a hand-stitched doily, hairs pulled from a brush, a nickname which in another language is the word for small. This is called Farewell. First things first. Seldom do machineries pine, and I was tired of waiting. Read, longing. I sold your bike and took the bus to Winnipeg. Farewell, white kitten by the roadside. Farewell, California. Goodbye to all the lanyards of my youth. To unanswered letters, to idols and relics. Goodbye to the underside of your wrist. Lest we remain beholden to our one good year, lest the search parties resume. There is no outcome for which I am unprepared, one way or another, clavicle or wool, for instance, a coat, a hammer, no better tool than hunger. Put simply, I married a room. I ate snack cakes leaning over the kitchenette sink. The last poem I'm going to read is called The Opposite of Amputation. As seen from above is a preface. This story goes, there was a lame calf folded at the fence, redundant heft. Pinafored girl in the barn. The farmer knew what must be done, and did it, then stood there, his shirt sleeve worked at the cuff by the wind. Desperation resembles nothing so much as a spent rifle. The same strokes for cock and trigger, reload, reload, as the minuet of tending. Here the bandages, here the splint. 1,000 ailing bedsides decorate the sorrows, lowing, which is never the sound of hunger. Minus an obituary, it is hard to fathom death as plain as the way the refrigerator holds a casserole. Thank you, but no thank you, I cannot keep anything down. The opposite of amputation, says the doctor, is graft. A lean-to hooked on a droughting forest, as tentative a shelter as skin. In unremarkable minutes, the world passes to habit. We watch the calf carted off, blood like a hymn wound black and wide past the throat. Thank you.